Thank you for Europe of Freedom and Democracy. Mr. Finch.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the title of this item is Sustainable Exploitation of Sea Bass. The operative word you're using is exploitation. That is all you're interested in. 11 years ago, the British government banned pair trawling for bass. Our then Fisheries Minister asked the French government to do likewise. They refused. We went to the European Commission to ask for a ban. The Commission refused. So our fishermen halted pair trawling, and the French, with the connivance of the European Union, simply took our fish from our waters, and now you have the nerve to punish our fishermen and sea anglers for your own crimes. The common fisheries policy, based as it is on outright naked theft of natural resources by giant businesses under the protection of the EU, is an unmitigated economic, ecological and environmental catastrophe. And all of you sitting here, although there's not many this morning because perhaps you're just busy signing on, all of you sitting here in this chamber spouting smug platitudes about caring for the ecosystem, looking after the impoverished of our world and acting as good stewards of the planet, I have news for you. You are being used by this giant corporatist scam, and you are blinding yourselves to the truth. In the words of Johnny Rotten, ever get the feeling you've been had? The biomasses of our bass population has dropped by 80%, and you are going to bring in vindictive, ill thought out, unenforceable legislation. British sea anglers have been calling for years to save the bass, and you've done nothing because you're owned lock, stock and barrel by vested interests. I call on the UK government today to leave the callous, corrupt and catastrophic common fisheries policy, restore a proper 12-mile limit and institute a 200-mile exclusive economic zone as guaranteed by the European law of the sea. The sooner the common fisheries policy is gone, the better. Thank you.
Thank you. There are two blue cards, one from Mrs. Girling and one from Mr. CADEC. Will you accept them, Mr. Finch? Mrs. Girling, for 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask Mr. Finch a straight question? Do you or do you not support the resolution of this Parliament, regardless of how we got here? That was interesting to hear your views, but do you support this resolution or do you not?
Mrs. Girling, I do not consider myself a Vichyist. I say the UK should leave the EU, leave the common fisheries policy. Anything else is merely putting off the inevitable. I hope that answers your question.
The second blue card comes from Mr. CADEC.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. Two questions, Mr. Finch. First of all, have you read the resolution? I don't think you have. Second question. You are calling for renationalisation of the fisheries policy. Is that the case?
He listened.
First answer, Mr. CADEC. Yes, I have nothing better to do with my time. Second answer is yes, of course, I am looking for each nation to have a responsible attitude and to look after its own natural resources. Thank you.